Many people wonder what awaits us after we die. Some think we go to heaven, some think we are reborn, and some think there is nothing. There is something, but it's nothing anyone can be prepared for. You may be thinking, how do I know this? Simply put, I've been there. I have always believed there was something after. What? I never knew. I wish I didn't know now what I didn't know then. The horrors that await us all are beyond the imagination. It started about 8 months ago. I have always been a party guy, drinking, trying acid, doing shrooms. You get the picture. One night my buddy called me up and asked if I wanted to try a new drug they got. I asked the name and he said it was called Facade. I laughed. That was the lamest name I had ever heard. My buddy cut through my laughter, telling me it was the newest drug and we would be the first to try. This sent me into high alert. I asked about the dealer, how they met, how long they knew each other, and if he had been able to find any dirt on the guy. He was able to give satisfactory answers, so I told him we could see how it went. We decided meeting that night at his place would be the best, since I was pretty booked this weekend. So I jumped in my car and headed to his house. He was only a 15-minute drive from my place, but I made a couple extra stops at the store to grab snacks and drinks. After about an hour I arrived, party favors in hand. There were 6 other people there, and everyone had made sure not to spare on munchies and drinks. I walked to the island in his kitchen and placed my share of good next to everyone else's. I looked around at everyone. Some looked excited, some looked nervous, and others looked like they were talked into being here, just waiting to be told they can go. I took my place on a beanbag in the corner. This was my designated spot, so that I wouldn't have people bothering me while I was enjoying my high. I closed my eyes, meditating, trying to get myself in the right headspace. Just as I started to relax, I felt a tap on my shoulder. I looked up to see my buddy holding a small white tablet that was about the size of a pen tip. I raised my eyebrow at him, but took the pill. It dissolved as soon as it made contact with my tongue. The taste was bitter and coated my entire mouth. This tastes like garbage, I said, taking a swig of water, trying to rid the taste. People around me either chuckled or gave the same response. We sat there waiting for it to kick in, just talking amongst ourselves. Without warning, I blacked out. I woke up to the sound of chains, screams, crying, and laughter. The laughter itself sounded inhuman and very deep. I tried to focus my mind, to try and make sense of my surroundings. I was in a room, an empty room. I wasn't hurt, I wasn't tied up, I wasn't chained. I was just laying there. As I pulled myself into a sitting position, I heard the door start to open. I took a deep breath, trying to calm my racing heart. But what came through that door was going to make my efforts turn vain. Its body was mangled, like all of its bones were broken, blood covering the floor where it stepped, accompanied by snaps and cracks of its bones. Its face was shaped like a bird and an alligator. It was covered in scars, new and old. Its lips were gone, its eyes were stapled shut, and its skin had been stretched and wired tightly to his face. It had 4 fingers on one hand and 3 on the other. Its legs were wrapped in razor wire. I watched as with every step it took, a new cut would form, heal, and repeat. Its legs and arms had been wired into a bent position, with the wire weaving in and out of its skin. It walked on its tippy toes as if it couldn't drop its heels to the ground. It had spikes protruding from its back. Its spine looked as though it would rip through its skin at any moment. With every movement it did, I could see its skin stretch to the point of ripping. The smell of 1,000 dead corpses lingered on this thing, like it sleeps with the dead. I began to crawl backwards. As it closed the door, slowly it made its way over to me, with grunts of pain with every step. "You shall come," it paused, taking a ragged breath. With me it finished, beckoning me forward, before turning to the door. It did not wait for me, and I feared what would happen if I did not follow. Slowly I followed the beast, keeping a good distance between us. It led me down a hallway full of doors. I could hear screams and crying coming from each one. I put my hands over my ears, trying not to let the panic take control over me. I hadn't been paying attention and ran smack into the beast, who I hadn't realized had stopped. I screamed out in pain as it impaled my body, my face, my arms, my chest, and my stomach. I could hear the beast screaming in pain as well. I heard a snap right before it began to screech and bellow in pain. I was on the verge of blacking out when I felt it grab my hair. With a hard pull I was flung to the ground, screams erupting from my throat in a bloody, gurgling sound. Slowly the pain stopped. My breathing was labored and heavy. I started to regain control of myself. I opened my eyes to see the beast slowly wiring its arm back in place. "I'm so sorry," I cried out. Why was I apologizing? I just wanted to come down. This high was not in my favor. These hallucinations were too real. The beast stopped and looked at me. I could not tell how it was feeling as its face never changed, but the way it just stood there told me I either surprised it or pissed it off. I held my breath waiting for an answer. It turned and kept walking. I made sure to watch his every move this time. We made turn after turn of what looked to be the same hallways with the same noises over and over again. Hours have passed with us walking like this. My legs are becoming weak. My knees start to buckle under me and I fall to my hands and knees. I look up to see the beast had stopped, but didn't look at me. One more, it grunted out. I took a deep breath and forced myself to my feet. My pace had slowed and I had to stop more often to make sure I didn't fall. The beast never complained and never got angry, just waited. We finally made a turn that brought us to two giant mahogany doors. The beast placed its hand on the door and pushed. It screamed out in pain as the wires tore through its skin and bones broke, but it didn't stop pushing or screaming until the doors were open fully. It stepped to the side, fumbling to get the wires back in place before its wounds healed. I didn't understand why, and I still don't. I decided to help it. It hadn't hurt me, nor done anything to cause harm to me. I walked over and began to rig the wire to where it would hold his arms in their original position, but also give him more range of motion. Once I came back to my senses, I jumped back. The beast just stood there. Once again, I was unable to tell its emotions. I stepped back to give it some more room. It just stood there for the longest time. Why, I heard. I stayed silent. What was I supposed to say? I have no idea. Why I felt the need to help, that's just who I am. As a person, I just thought, I don't like to see people suffer. I whispered out, my voice failing me as he began to laugh. A laugh that was raspy, dry, and wheezy. I dropped my head, scolding myself for being so caring at a time like this. I don't even know where I am. I looked back up as I saw him start to walk again, still laughing just as frantically. I followed him to the middle of the empty room, where a stand with a microphone stood. He turned to me and said, "The judgment is going to begin soon. Stand and wait," as he pointed to the stand. I slowly made my way over to the stand. Just as I took my place, I felt a sharp pain through my feet. A scream erupted from my mouth. As the pain spread to my legs, I looked down to see red-hot wire had climbed its way up my calf, searing flesh and meat as it cooled to my skin. Tears streamed down my face as I bit my tongue to quiet my screams. I could taste the blood from biting so hard. A crack of a whip echoed through the room. That's when I noticed them. Two massive creatures were sitting on thrones in front of me. When did they get here? I tried to clear my mind. As the pain receded, I saw the beast that led me here walk over to the throne and whisper something to them. As it stepped away, they began to speak. No sound came from their mouths, nor did they even open their mouths. It was inside my head. This is the judgment after death. The voice paused. Wait, did they just say I died? How is that possible? We were just tripping. This wasn't supposed to happen. My breath began to shorten. My body began to tremble. My mind began to swirl. No, silence, the voice broke through my mind. Tears stung my eyes once again. The first option, torture those that deserve. The second option, care for those who have been. My mouth hung open. The realization hit me that I was not getting out. I have to choose. Care, I whispered out. The beast that led me here began to laugh once again. He threw his head back, bones cracking with the movement. He let out a shrill scream, and the floor began to part. I watched in horror as a cage came into view. The higher it got, the more I could see. A table sat next to the cage, covered in all types of wire. Everyone that was at the party was in this cage, their bodies mangled, their cries dry and harsh. None of them moved, just cried. Care for them, then you may go. I stared in disbelief. What I stuttered out, they have done nothing to earn their choice. They are the reason you are here. The voice rang in my head. I walked over to the cage, looking at everyone. I found my buddy amongst the mangled bodies. "I'm sorry," was all he could say. I opened the cage door and grabbed his body, dragging him out. With every pull he wailed and screamed out in pain. His bones felt like mush. His body was disfigured badly. I looked at the table and realized what the beast was. just like he was. I was supposed to wire them together once again. I dropped to my knees and sobbed. Once I had no more tears, I gathered all the courage I could and began to cut the wire into strips. Over and over I would pull them out and wire them together. They would scream until they passed out, weaving in and out of consciousness. I was covered in blood from head to toe. I made the wire tight enough to hold them together, but not tight enough to fully restrict movement. I could feel myself starting to black out. I struggled to keep my eyes focused. I tried to stand only to fall back on my ass. My ears filled with a loud beeping. It was causing my head to feel as though it was going to explode. I screamed out, rolling on the floor in agony. It got louder and louder until I couldn't take it anymore and let myself slip into darkness. I opened my eyes to a blinding light. I heard voices all around me. I tried to blink my surrounding into focus. I brought my hand up to my eyes to shield them. I tried to sit up, but my body was stiff and sore. I felt a hand on my arm. I looked over to see my mother, who sat next to the bed. She dropped onto me and started crying. The doctor said there was a chance you might not wake up. I pushed her to look at me. "What do you mean?" I asked. She looked sad as she said, "Honey, you died. They were able to resuscitate you, but you have been in a coma for 8 months. They had started talking about pulling the plug last week, but I refused. I knew you would come back to me, but your friends, they didn't make a baby. They had a much higher dose in their system. The doctors tried everything. I'm sorry." I was speechless. She rubbed my face before leaving to get the doctor. I let my head fall back on the pillow. Just then I heard the sound of crunching bones. I followed the sound to the corner of my room. The beast stood in the corner watching me. Since that day, he has been with me, a constant reminder of what awaits us in the afterlife.